Graves' disease is an autoimmune overactive thyroid condition, whereas Hashimoto's, which is the more common type, is your underactive. So I'm really thrilled today to have our first thyroid story being shared by Jeni, who has Graves' disease. She was diagnosed earlier in the year and is going to share her story of the symptoms that she had, how she's dealt with it, how she's dealing with it, and I'm really thrilled about that, to get a variety of messages about thyroid health out there into the broader community, raising awareness and helping other people who either have thyroid conditions or think they might. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Welcome to Let's Talk Thyroid, where we explore different aspects of living a healthy thyroid lifestyle, positively and practically, to help you thrive and not just survive. Join me, Annabelle Bateman, your host, and let's talk thyroid. This podcast has been proudly supported by, well, me. I am fully backing my podcast and getting the Let's Talk Thyroid message out to you. If you are interested in purchasing essential oils, that is one of the ways that you can support me and I can support you, and essential oils can support your overall thyroid health and wellness. So if that's something that you would like to add to your health and wellness toolkit of resources that you can access to support you in a number of different ways, send me a message. I'd love to help you find what suits your individual needs and budget. Or you can head to annabellebateman.com and follow the links there to essential oils. But think digestive support, stress management, reducing your toxic load, all sorts of ways that we can use essential oils as part of our overall lifestyle approach to managing health and wellness. Awesome. Well, welcome, Jeni, to the Let's Talk Thyroid podcast.
Thank you very much, Annabelle. It's great to be here.
Yeah, look, this is fun, and I am really excited to have you as the first person with Graves' disease to share her story on the podcast, because this is all about Let's Talk Thyroid, not just Hashimoto's and not just underactive thyroid, but I know in our Let's Talk Thyroid community we've got quite a few with Graves' disease and quite a few without, that have actually had their thyroids removed, whether it's due to, Graves or cancer or other things. So I do over time want to get those different voices out there, because that's how we learn from each other.
Yeah, 100%. Agreed.
So thanks for being willing to share your story, because I know it's still fairly new for you, and and it's not always easy to talk about our health stories in public. Yeah. So I appreciate your courage.
No, thank you very much. And I'm still definitely learning about Graves and autoimmune diseases. So yes. Yeah.
So tell us, to start with, Jeni, tell us a little bit about you. Who are you? What do you do? What do you enjoy? As much or as little as you want. Just tell us a little bit about you.
So I am a Brisbane girl now, but I actually grew up in Far North Queensland on a dairy farm on the Atherton Tablelands. I am one of 6 girls, so from a big family.
Wow, that's a lot of hormones, isn't it?
That is a lot of hormones.
Did your dad just go out and milk the cows? Or?
Yeah, and just don't worry about it. I'm out. Out.
That's funny. Yeah.
So yes, I think they prayed for a boy, but I was the last one, and then they just gave up. But okay. 6 girls, I'm done.
Yeah. 6 anything, I would be done.
Yeah. So then I moved to Brisbane when I was turned 20, and just loved it down here. Met my husband. He owned a label printing business, so I joined him in that business, managing it. They've had 2 children since then, and sold that business, and we are now in uniforms and promotional products and ladies' office wear. So really exciting days at the moment, managing and running our own businesses.
Yeah.
So that's me, yeah. I enjoy going to the gym and...
Yeah, probably not a lot of, downtime, but we'll probably cover that, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Not a lot of free time,
no.
But I think that's half the reason why I am in the situation that I'm in with my health.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? And I will ask you about this in a little bit, but I think what I have discovered both for myself and other people I've talked to not just on the podcast, but generally, is there definitely seems to be a bit of a personality connection to getting thyroid diseases of all kinds. So
Yes.
that will be interesting. But I know you've got, do you want to give your business a bit of a plug? Happy to do that because I know you've been doing lots of new and exciting things with at least one of your businesses. So if you want to give it a plug, go for it.
Yeah, so we bought Red Roo Australia, which is a uniforms and promotional products. We bought that business about 4 years ago, and it's going really, really well. We launched Work to Weekend right before COVID, actually. No, it was in COVID. So
COVID success story in the making.
Yeah, so, a bit of downtime and, or not even downtime, but just a quieter time with Red Roo in that period of time. And I thought, well, it's been on my to-do list for a couple of years. So I got stuck in and did the website and launched it. So it's going really, really well.
Yeah, it looks great. So if anyone wants to check it out, I know you've got a great Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah, it's thank you. It's Work to Weekend is ladies' office wear that will take you right through till weekend. So it's fantastic. We've got a range of products, and I had access to all these beautiful ladies' clothing. So I thought this is a great way to get it out there for everybody.
Yeah, it looks great. Look, I don't really work in an office, just my little home office. But I was looking this morning and I was like, oh, there's still a couple of things there that I could wear. I'm wanting to be a little bit dressier than, my average. So
yes, yep.
Yeah, that's good.
That's what they're there. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your thyroid story then, Jeni.
So I've always had a certain level of anxiety. I think that anxiety probably reached boiling point a couple of years ago. But I got these symptoms of overactive thyroid or Graves' disease a week before Christmas of 2019. So
wow, you've had a very big 12 months.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, so what were those symptoms? What did that look like, feel like? What was that?
Yeah, so I was always hot, and I'm not a person that feels the heat. Give me summer over winter any day. So I was always hot to the point of sweating, and which was a bit embarrassing. I had a racing heart, and my resting heart rate was usually sat around 45 to 50. Because I do exercise quite a bit. It's nowadays it's sitting around 65 to 70, but it did get up to 80 to 85 as a resting heart rate.
Wow. So does that feel like a heart pounding? Like, what does that feel like?
To me, it did. So that's not a dangerous heart rate. The doctors say, over 100, it becomes quite dangerous. But because I wasn't used to it, because I was used to such a low heart rate, resting heart rate, it felt like I had a racing heart and heart palpitations all the time.
Right, wow.
Which made me breathless as well. So I was short of breath a lot. That was just before Christmas, and then I sort of, we went away for Christmas. I don't know what's wrong. Maybe it's just serious anxiety, just need to calm down. Put up with it until probably the back end of January. And by that point, I was losing weight quite rapidly. I lost 2.5 kilos in 4 days. Running to the toilet, everything, my food was just going straight through me, even though I was eating like a horse. It was just going straight through me and I was losing weight. So, just took myself off to the doctor and went, I'm not functioning. I wasn't able to stay at work. I had to keep coming home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you sleep? Was your sleep impacted as well?
Yeah. So as soon as you lay down to go to sleep, it's like your body goes into overdrive and you get the jitters or jumps. So you physically jump.
Oh, my God.
And jitter. Yeah.
Wow.
You can't relax. So some nights I was up till 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, just trying to, stop that, come down. I even tried yoga at 1 o'clock in the morning. I was doing like 20 minutes of yoga to try and calm my body down.
Yeah. I know, I know there've been the odd times where it's quite common from my understanding to switch between Hashimoto's and Graves because they're both autoimmune thyroid. And I've never had Graves, but I know sometimes if I change my medication, my heart can get a little bit racy. And so I can't, and that's only a little bit, I can't imagine feeling that all the time. That must be really quite frightening.
Yeah, it was. And I had not heard of Graves' disease. I was not aware of thyroid conditions or autoimmune diseases. They do say it's hereditary, but I haven't been able to find anybody in my family history that had the Graves' disease or any sort of thyroid condition. So I went to the doctor not knowing what was wrong.
Yeah. And what did the doctor do or say? What?
She basically knew straight off that it was Graves or an overactive thyroid. So she sent me off for blood tests immediately. And within 48 hours, she referred me to an endocrinologist who put me on the medication, and beta blockers, which basically the beta blocker brings your heart rate down and stops you from overheating. So it kind of controls those symptoms.
Okay.
And then the thyroid medication that they put me on was to help the thyroid as well. So
right. Okay.
function.
Yeah. And so did you notice the difference straight away?
Yeah, within about a week.
About
a week, my symptoms had decreased. I've still got a little bit of a racing heart now, but all other symptoms are well and truly under control. With Graves' disease, the medication that they put you on is not meant to be for a long term. It's sort of 18 months maximum. It does affect your white blood cell count, which increases your chances of cancer.
Right, so you don't want to be on that for a long time anyway then?
No. So I read articles and listened to other people, and they sort of said, their endocrinologists were telling them at 6 months you need to make a decision whether it's get your thyroid out or radiation treatment and that sort of thing, whereas my endocrinologist said you've got a maximum of 18 months and then we have to look at other ways of handling this.
Okay. So what are so you had never heard of Graves' disease until end of January. It's now August. That's not that long. Sounds like you've done a lot of reading and researching, as we tend to when we're kind of thrown into a medical situation. So tell us, so what have you done? Come 18 months, what are your options? Or what have you discovered are other options that you can do to help support your Graves' disease?
Yeah. So after my diagnosis, I probably was in denial for about 3 to 4 months. Just thought, I'll just take this medication. It'll make everything better. Then I'll come off the medication and I'll be rosy. And I did a little bit of reading, but didn't really take it on board. Busy life, get going.
Starting at launching a new business. Yeah.
You've got businesses to run and kids to look after and just get on with it, which is very much, I think, how I've been brought up. So then I really delved into it a lot more. I read a lot more articles. I was listening to podcasts, yours, and an ATP had put out a thyroid podcast as well. The ATP.
So what's
products.
ATP? Oh, okay. They're
a supplement.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it was quite interesting, quite scary as well. The thought of having to have my thyroid out or be affecting my white blood cells count with the medication that I'm on. And they all spoke about everything they had to say was very much along the same lines. So when you start to listen or discuss or read 4, 5, 6, 7 people's experience and they're all saying the same thing, you sort of go, right, well, this is obviously, how I can go about fixing my thyroid basically. And they were saying things like going gluten-free, yoga, meditation, slowing down your lifestyle, controlling that anxiety, because I believe it's my anxiety and my long-term stress as a business owner, and having anxiety in my DNA has got me to this point.
Okay. Yeah. It's a pretty
so
common trigger, isn't it? What I've learned is that stress when you've got the genetic predisposition? And I know it's interesting, you said you haven't worked out that there's anybody in the family tree that has it. I've been the same. So I was diagnosed when I was 23 with Hashimoto's. No, there's no one in my family. I'm this genetic anomaly. About a month ago, my mum was diagnosed with Hashimoto's. So it was there.
I think it's just gone undiagnosed for so long.
Well, it could have been, she thinks it's gone undiagnosed for quite a while, and she's probably had that genetic predisposition, and maybe it triggered, something triggered it. And so, but stress is a pretty common trigger. Yeah.
Well, we've definitely got anxiety in our family. So my mother definitely suffers anxiety, and I'm not sure all of my sisters, but at one stage or another, you can see anxiety in their personality, basically. So it's definitely there. And I just allowed my loud mind to get out of control, basically.
Okay. So so that's what you feel might have contributed over the years. That just constantly being revved up. It sort of makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, what they say is that the hormone that gets created when you're under stress, the cortisol, that helps your body manage that stress. When you're under severe stress and anxiety for too long, that's no longer enough. It no longer does its job, and your body just basically goes, right, we need more. This person needs to keep going. And the thyroid then starts and just overproduces the chemicals to keep you going, basically.
Right. Yeah, it's a joy, isn't it?
It's been full on.
Yeah. I mean, and I think to have kind of taken all that on in a pretty short period of time, that is pretty big. I mean, I think I've had a very long period of time to try to work it all, well, not work it all out. I don't think it's a constant journey. So I think you're doing pretty well to have got your head around it, even to to this point in a short period of time.
Yeah.
So good for you. Good on you.
Yeah. Thank you. And they do say that you can float between Graves' and Hashimoto's, that people can start with Graves' and then the thyroid gets so burnt out that they end up with Hashimoto's. So I didn't want that to happen either. I was like, no, I just want to be normal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So you said before you heard about the 5 or 6, 7 people saying the same thing, and then you start to take notice.
Yes.
In fact, I think I was talking to Sharon Wilford, my naturopath, on it recently on here, and she said she thinks there's something like people have got to hear the same thing about 7 times before.
There you go.
And I thought, yeah, that's probably true for me, and that sort of seems reflected in you. So, once you start to hear it multiple times, you think, oh, maybe there is something to this. So you mentioned gluten-free, like have you cut gluten out?
I have. So I, after my last round of blood tests and the endocrinologist, so I had my appointment with my endocrinologist, and I was asking her what other things that I can do. It's got to be related to eating and exercise and the spiritual side of things. And of course, being in the medical profession, she was not forthcoming, not helpful. They just want to give you your medicine. And I think she printed out a sheet about food, but it was all related back to Hashimoto's. It was not really relevant for Graves. So I took myself off to a naturopath, and Shannon Stokes, she's based in Paddington here in Brisbane, and really good. Really good. So she was so thorough, and I was there for like an hour and a half. She asked me every question under the sun, and so now I do only HIIT classes 3 to 4 times a week. I was doing them up to 6 times.
Oh, that's pretty intense exercise.
So
if you're going to exercise, you might as well go full on. But that's a Hashimoto's tendency as well. It's that all or nothing. I'm going to go full on. I was like that. If I'm going to exercise, I might as well be sweating my, dripping in sweat. If I'm going to do yoga, I'll do Bikram yoga, and I'll do 30 days straight.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
And that, so it sort of, I don't know, just anecdotally seems to fit the profile. Yeah. So you've calmed down to, even to me, 3 to 4 HIIT sessions a week sounds like a lot. That's only because I'm a bit lazy when it comes to exercise now. I'm like, oh, okay, don't push yourself. All right then.
I did okay. Well, that's still quite hard to get my head around because I have exercised 6 or 7 times a week for many years, right through my 20s. So that is still really hard for me to compute that it's okay to sleep in and not go to the gym in the morning, or not go for a run, or don't go swimming and things like that. So that's an ongoing battle for me. But I have reduced the amount of HIIT classes that I do. Shannon put me on to some herbs, liquid herbs.
Oh, they taste disgusting. Gross. Yeah.
So I line them up in the morning with my lemon tea and my glass of water and my mint for afterwards, because they are very different. Yeah. Yeah. But I feel better on them.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the most important thing. I've got to say, I love naturopaths. I've had such massive benefit from seeing a naturopath over the years. I'm a very big advocate. Yeah. So if you found a great one, that's so good.
Yeah. Do you take liquids? Do you take the herbs?
I have done in the past. I'm not currently. Yeah. Probably the most recent gross tasting things I did was when I saw Chinese medicine doctor, Maz Rzinski, I can't remember if it was last year now. And so I was taking some of the Chinese herbs, and they probably some of them tasted pretty gross too.
Equally as disgusting.
Yeah, so I certainly have over the years from time to time.
So what else? Just slowing down. I think I'm really aware of my downtime now, and that it's okay to sit on the couch and watch a bit of television or read a book in bed. Was very much, I've been brought up that, you work hard. Sitting on the couch means you're lazy. So that whole mindset I've had to really work hard at, and just stop myself, because I was literally working day and night. It was to bed at 11 o'clock because I've done my work, getting up at 4 o'clock to go to the gym. Living on no sleep, whereas now I really value my sleep.
Yeah. So how have you talked yourself into stepping back a bit?
I think I realised that I was not being productive, that I might have been doing all these hours of work, but because I was tired, burnt out, unwell, I was not being 100% productive while I was doing that work anyway. And I just have so many more goals. I just have so many more achievements that I want for the businesses and my family, that I kind of took back and just went, well, if I keep doing this, I'm no good to anybody, and I'm not going to be productive, and I'm not going to reach my goals, and I can't look after my children, and so on and so on. So I just had to get logical about it. I had to rationalise it and go, well, it's okay to have that downtime. It's okay to have life balance.
Yeah.
So that's where I came from. Is it more of a productivity side of things?
Okay. Yeah. Rather than, it doesn't, in the end, doesn't matter. It's whatever's going to help you to do that, isn't it? Because we've got such a rushing woman syndrome thing that goes on at the moment in our society. And I wonder if COVID has calmed some of that down for people. I was thinking about that this morning. I just wonder if it has given some people the opportunity to restock and slow down, and what activities do I want everybody to be involved in?
Yeah, and I think it has, Annabelle. I think that we do wear our busyness like it's a badge of honour. We're also busy. And I guess I was definitely guilty of it. Definitely. If somebody asked me how I was busy. I was always full pelt. But I think in my head now, I'm just like, well, it's not a good state to be in.
It's interesting though, isn't it? So interesting, because I think, like, I probably similar to over time taken it. I think I understand now more the importance of not taking on too much, of getting a good night's sleep, of being a bit calmer. And I do have the luxury of working from home, and I can work at my own pace. So I understand I'm not in a busy office like you are, with lots of staff and all of that. So I don't feel like I am super busy, but when someone says to me, "How are you?" you want to say, I feel a bit guilty still saying, "Well, actually, my lifestyle's pretty good." You say, "Well, yeah, we're all busy, and I still say that, even though I know, it's curious, isn't it?
But you only get the guilt because you're comparing yourself to somebody else or what you believe you should be doing.
Yeah, that's true.
The guilty mother's syndrome is all about, because you're comparing yourself to the next mother that's along the line who's doing this, this, and this with their kids. So
I look at what some of my friends do with their families, and I'm exhausted just reading their Facebook posts. I'm like, oh my gosh, I couldn't do that. But I definitely come from a family a bit like you. I didn't grow up on a dairy farm, but grew up on a farm at least till I was 8, and then we moved to Sydney. But definitely come from a family that it was, you work hard, you do your work and then you relax, but work never seems to get finished. No. and I find myself saying that to my kids too, right? No, there's no screens until you've got this done. So I don't know how you get out of that, but it's that constant work, achievement, lots of things on the to-do list, lots of goals, as you said. You've got lots of goals you still want to achieve. Like I've got my vision boards all around me in my desk. Like I'm very goal oriented. So it's constantly revising that, perhaps. I don't know.
I definitely was living my life off a to-do list.
Right.
So, when the to-do list is done, I can relax.
But it never is.
But when you have 2 kids and businesses and, a house to keep clean, the to-do list is never, ever finished. And a bit of therapy made me realise that one.
Well, that's helpful too. Well, is there anything so far that you have tried that hasn't really worked for you?
Meditation. I have not mastered the art. I definitely tend to, or would prefer to go for a walk than meditate. And I've tried it. I have tried many times to sit still and be with one of my thoughts. But I find that when I go for a walk, I can come back at peace, and in a lot more calmer state and feeling relaxed, more so than if I sat in a space by myself. So it's something that I haven't mastered. Whether I keep trying, I don't know. I know I listened to Jeni and Alice, the Boost Juice owner.
Yeah.
She's definitely someone that I admire for what she's achieved, and I listened to her live, and she said she doesn't meditate. She just can't. It just doesn't suit her, and she's given up trying. Now she prefers yoga, so she does yoga every day, and that's her thing. So that's one area that I've tried, but it just I haven't got there yet.
I know. I don't know that I have either. But we've each got to find what works for us, don't we? To calm down, and if meditation really works for some, great. I find, so I like to do jigsaw puzzles or that kind of thing. To me, that's an active form of meditation. I'm not so good at just, sitting with my thoughts because they go everywhere. But if I can focus on finding the piece of the puzzle that's got the blue in that corner and the red in that corner, that I find helpful. So,
God, it's been years since I've done a jigsaw puzzle. I used to love them. Love them. Yeah.
Well, I find that as a good, if I'm quite stressed, then I will get a jigsaw puzzle out because I know I can just go to it, and it's like, it is a bit like a Zen time for me.
Yeah.
So
that's fantastic.
we've all just found what works. And probably the essential oils have helped me too, just to have a tool that I can calm things down as well.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Those kind of couple of things. But yeah, we're all different. So
yeah, no, I use the balance that you gave me.
Oh yeah, I had that
little roll.
I think I put it on just before this. Yeah, it's a nice one. Yeah,
it is.
And so, Jeni, have you got? If you were to go back, and you don't have to go back too far, but you know, even just to the beginning of your thyroid story, like, would you do anything different, or have you got any tips that you think would be helpful for somebody else going through a similar situation?
I probably should have listened to my body a lot earlier. I think that is really key to becoming aware of how your body feels, and not just with anxiety or stress, but also with how certain foods make you feel. You know, I've known for many years that I have a gluten intolerance, and gluten does not make me feel very good. But I'm 3 weeks now of being gluten free, and I feel so much better.
Wow.
So much better. So it's just becoming aware of your body. I think letting go of that superwoman approach, that approach to life that we have to be 100% in all areas of our life. You know, the house has got to look like a display home, and you have to be achieving well in your careers, and your kids have to be doing every sport and art class there is under the sun, and, you know, your husband's happy, and blah, 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 and blah, 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 and just keeps going. Well, I think you've got to go, well, this is where my passion sits, and this is what I enjoy. And I love business. I love running my own business. I love being in business with my husband, Trent. So my house does not look like a display home, you know.
Yeah, and that's okay. Yeah,
and that's okay.
Yeah,
and that's okay. So I think destroying that whole theory that we have to be all things to everyone and everything is a big one. That's probably the two main things. Just be aware of your body and.
Yeah, they're really helpful tips. I'm wondering, I mean, because you've obviously done a lot of this digging into Graves. Are there any, you mentioned a podcast or two before, but are there any people you've followed or books you've read that you would recommend to other people with Graves' disease?
Yes, I stumbled across, so I listened to your podcast. I listened to Dr. Chatterjee.
Oh, yeah.
That's how you say his name, Ray Chatterjee. I love his podcast, and I've just bought his book, The 4-Pillar Plan, to read as well.
Yep. So is he thyroid specific? I can't remember.
No,
I didn't think so.
Health and wellness.
Yeah.
But I also have started to follow, I stumbled across a naturopath. She actually lives in Melbourne. So she was the same. She was in a corporate career. She got Graves and a thyroid condition. Her endocrinologist told her that she was going to have her thyroid removed. So she went on a whole journey of in the naturopath, and actually became a naturopath herself.
Wow.
So she now practices. And her name is Bronte May. So I follow her on Instagram, and it's quite interesting. Like, she does a lot of, I noticed that she does that earthing, which I haven't read up about that one and researched the whole benefits of walking around bare feet.
Yeah, that's a whole other world
to explore. Not opposed to it. I know, isn't it?
I don't know. My husband's an electronics engineer. He kind of rolls his eyes when I start talking earthing maths, but I've got all sorts of earthing things. So,
oh dear.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. So that was Bronte May. Did she talk about earthing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I noticed, she's often doing a Instagram story of her actually physically walking in the grass, and I sort of sent her a message and said, like, what is that, and how long do you have to do it for? But I never said,
make you feel nice.
Why do you do it?
Walking on the grass or on the sand, or, I just think it's just like, it is quite a nice feeling, a grounding feeling, I suppose.
Yeah. So it's finding some time in my day to walk in the grass barefoot.
Or you can just buy an earthing mat and stick it under your desk.
There you go.
There's the busy person's, grass. We have artificial grass at our house, so it's like, I don't even have grass. But Bronte May, I'm going to check her out because it's good. And, I do think it's always good, particularly to know too of some Australians that have information to share and that people can connect with. So that's really helpful.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Not a problem.
Well, Jeni, thank you for your time today and sharing your story as it's unfolded and unfolding.
That's all right.
Just great to get some voices out there so we can encourage each other and learn from each other and just raise awareness too of different thyroid issues.
Yeah, definitely. And there's so much more information for Hashimoto's over Graves, because Graves is the rarer form of thyroid condition. So I'm more than happy to talk about my journey and hopefully help somebody out there.
And knowing that those of us with Hashimoto's can switch into Graves and vice versa, I think it is helpful to know a bit about the other.
But I think the solutions or the treatment is very similar to Hashimoto's. The medication's different, but the journey of slowing down and controlling your stress levels and watching what you eat is all very much the same.
Yeah, it's all addressing the autoimmunity underneath.
Yeah, it is. It is, 100%.
Yeah. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Let's Talk Thyroid. I would love it if you would subscribe to the podcast and share it with others that you know with thyroid problems. Let's get the message out there. If you'd like to connect with me further, the best place to do that is via my website, annabellebateman.com. From there, you'll be able to join my Facebook group, book a strategy session with me, download my freebie, and access any show notes for this episode. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
The information presented and discussed in this podcast is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease and should not be used as a substitute for proper advice from a qualified professional.